Welcome everybody to another session of Power of. And guess what? It's a series now. Every Thursday, Acyuta Gopi and myself will be talking about this. And thank you everybody for joining. And today, it's just a very special day, and we're going to be talking about why it's so special. I'm not going to give it away right now, and I wonder if you can guess why it is. But just about our guest, in case, actually, my good friend now. Just before we start, one thing I want to just say is that welcome, Acyuta Gopi. It's so nice to have you again. And we got our friend Being Yogi has just joined us as well. Thank you, Being Yogi. And today, for those that may not know Acyuta Gopi, she is an award-winning a Grammy nominee. She's an award-winning writer, and she does kirtan facilitating, around the world. And at the moment, she is virtually on kirtans in different parts. People sharing your kirtans are getting shared like anything right now. I'm just like, wow, isn't it?
Me too. I'm like, wow.
And also, she's a person that's doing some really great talks online. Recently, welcome on board to the Mayapur TV channel as well, Acyuta Gopi, where you're doing talks on. Of course, we're starting with Ekadashi and why it's so important to do, and the mood of Ekadashi, and we're going to be talking about that today. So that's going to be one thing about power of prayer, because when we come on to power of prayer, there are certain facets that we need to help it become more maximized. And that's why today I really wanted to check on power prayer in the Ekadashi format, because it's the day, it's that auspicious day that comes. So if you have any questions on Ekadashi, so Ekadashi, for those that don't know, see it as austerity. It's a fasting day. It's a way of fasting for a certain period of time. Usually it constitutes to about nearly 24 hours, and it can be different levels of fasting that we do. So we're going to be talking about all those aspects as well. So if you have any questions on this, regardless what it is, please do message in. So without further ado, how are you?
I'm doing well. No complaints. Happy, feeling excited for Ekadashi, which, it's kind of interesting to say when you're like, I'm happy and excited to be fasting.
Yeah.
Excited to be doing some kind of austerity, but I'm excited.
I remember once when we talked about this. Actually, no, I listened to one of your sessions, and you were saying that actually Ekadashi is such a privilege. It's such an honor to be able to do this. And I remember myself when I was thinking, I was like, God, I don't think of it like that. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be eating carbs all day. Or I'm going to, sometimes because I'll just be drinking water and that's it. And I'm thinking, oh, this is so hard. And when you said that, my mindset changed straight away. It's like, yeah, it is an honor. How fortunate are we to be doing Ekadashi?
Yeah. And I have to give the credit, of course, to my parents. I mean, what you start off with, that's what you continue doing. It becomes habit. Srila Prabhupada would say, habit means practice. So practice. And from as young as I can remember, I think my parents always had me following Ekadashi. It was never like there was a time when you're too young to follow. It's just, it became a natural part of life rather than, okay, now I have to add this in. And my mom was always a really big believer in helping us understand what are the reasons why we are doing this. And so in so many of these Ekadashi stories and the glories of Ekadashi, you hear people had to go to their advisors, right? And they had to walk to their advisors, several miles away and say, I'm having this problem, what do I do? And then that advisor had to go trek through the forest to another sage in a remote place, somewhere far in the world. And then they had to ask that sage, okay, we're having this problem, what do we do? And then the sage would sit in meditation and then say, well, there's this auspicious day coming. And if you just observe this fast on this day, and you think about the divine, you think about the supreme, then because of that fast, then you can get the benefits, and it will fix whatever problem you have. And now, because of Srila Prabhupada, we don't have to trek through the forest. We don't have to hike to several different advisors. We have all the information right at our fingertips. So this is a privilege that not even everybody knew about before.
Wow. That, you know, I love that checking. There's another part, the facet that I was really interested in is that, you know, you get all these lifestyle gurus and dietitians and nutritionalists, and they said your body actually every certain times, and I believe it's about every 2 weeks, that you technically meant to fast. And if the whole world fasted, then actually we'll have enough food for everybody on the planet. It's like, it's amazing how Srila Prabhupada put this into our diaries. It's like it so there's two facets there. One is about nutrition, that actually our body needs that cleansing regularly.
It
and
needs a second to reset, reboot, and have a minute to rest, because we put it through a lot.
Oh God. And then this the second part, of course, is that we actually consciously, when we're fasting, we're helping with what? One of the pillars of Dharma. So we have our 4 pillars, and one of them is, of course, austerity. Because without austerity, we actually cannot actually elevate. We need to have that to elevate our consciousness. We need that. So Ananda Murthy just said, "My entire life is a fast." You're such a joke.
Yeah, and I mean, not only austerity, but charity. Because, like you said, if the whole world fasted, it would kind of just balance things out in a natural way. So not only austerity, but you have charity, which is such a beautiful virtue.
Yeah, you're so true. So just moving on to this. So we've got this practical aspect of this fast, Ekadashi. Can I ask, what does Ekadashi actually mean? What does the word itself mean? For those that may not know, that's joining us here right now, like the Dragon Warrior.
It means 11. So Eka is
Eka.
1, Dasha is 10. So Ekadashi is 11. But it's not Ekadasha, it's Ekadashi because it's the presiding deity of this day is a goddess.
There we
So
go.
she's a little bit of a warrior goddess.
So there we go. Ekadashi 11. Actually, if you look at the lunar calendar, this is what we go on. So it's before the Gregorian calendar came in, we had the lunar calendar. And in that, actually, we have the waxing and the waning moons. And that's how our days were set. So it's just so like, I feel like the science behind this really helps back up why we do it. Like, it is not like this type of blind type of faith. Okay, you know what? It said, because this person said to me, to, like you said at the start, okay, what's your problem? I've got this thing. Okay, go walk 2 miles to that pundit and he'll tell you what to do. And it's not like, even though that's one aspect, but we actually are getting some physical benefits from fasting. And it actually will help us help increase our concentration, help us to actually regulate our body. So why? Because it's all about what? The power of prayer. That'll give our more effective praying. So just on that, then, just on the praying side of things, if I could ask, like, when we're doing Ekadashi, what should our mood be? Can you just, because I know not everybody would have been on that session, and that's a plug. Check out Acyuta Gopi sessions now on Mayapur TV. But can you just on that aspect, what should our mood be when we're trying to do, let's say, fasting? Some people on here may not want to fast. So what's the encouragement you can give to say, yeah, this is the reason that we should try and do it?
Yeah. That is a very popular mood, actually. The mood of, why should I? This is such a huge inconvenience. It's such a, I have to change everything about my day. I have to reschedule lunch. I have to reschedule dinner. I have to, and the idea is that on Ekadashi you cook less, right? Because you're engaged in fasting. But usually the thought process of trying to plan your meal then takes a little bit longer because you're working with all these loopholes, staying
Yep.
away from grains and beans, all of these things. Um, so, you know, we look at all of these inconveniences. And for me, the mood is twofold. One, I love to think of the sweetness of, okay, I have my best friend. My best friend is doing things for me every day, every moment. And all my friend asks of me is, okay, maybe just do this austerity. This little bit of austerity, can you do this for me? And we think, well, I mean, of course, you know, this person is giving us everything every moment of every day. And then you want to get into the science of it, though, because you have twofold. Twofold.
Yeah.
Um, and we begin to think, but what if my faith in my friend is not so strong? Well, so many of these stories talk about the sinful activities that are committed. And I don't care who you are, everyone is somehow afraid of committing sinful activities.
Yeah. 100%.
Even if you are a huge demon, everybody is afraid of committing sinful activities, which is why everyone is afraid of dying. Everyone is afraid of, like, well, what happens after that? And it seems like there will be consequences. Nobody really likes to face the consequences and take responsibility for all of their actions, especially if it's not all rosy. You know,
Hmm.
if the outlook of our actions don't seem like it's going to be the happiest of outcomes, we're trying to move away from that as much as possible because we want to move away from things that are uncomfortable. So thinking about the fact that we may have committed sinful activities is not comfortable for us. So we're trying to look for ways to get away from it. And
Yeah.
this Ekadashi fast is one way of our best friend, our Krishna, saying, doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter even if you are the personification of sin, right? Not just if you are sinful, but if you are sin itself, I will create a space for you.
That's amazing.
No matter
There's a
what, yeah, no
yeah.
matter what we've done, there is a way to redeem ourselves.
That's what I really love about it. And I saw one comment coming in just that was quite funny from Prema Hara, our lovely friend. She goes, it's not just about binging on potatoes, just in case everybody's thinking, oh my God, I'm going to now binge on potatoes. And another person, Sonam Sharma, who's I've noticed she's been joining our sessions quite regularly. So thank you for your support, Sonam. She goes, I have to confess that one of the reasons I look forward to Ekadashi is Ekadashi Prashadam. So Prashadam means sanctified food. I'm like, good on you, Sonam.
And
I
we
wish I
should.
felt like
You
that.
know, it should feel like a festival. Even if,
Yeah.
you know, we are not cooking everything, you can still do it in your mind. There are
Yes.
so many examples of people who are serving in their minds better than they have the facility to serve outwardly.
Wow.
And if we really take a second and think about it, right? In the beginning of your relationship with your wife, Jagannath, was
Yeah.
there a time when you were so just enamored with, like, talking to this person, exploring this new connection with this person, that you forgot to eat?
Yeah, of course. 100%. That's love.
And so that's what I bring to this day. That's
That's it.
love. You fasted already just because you were so engrossed in finding out about this person. You were so
Love it.
engrossed in this newness of love. And that's what I want to bring to this day. Fall in love with the divine in a way that you're now thinking less about, oh, but you know, it's about me and my stomach and my diet. What do I do? We go through so many days when our days are busy, whatever the case is. We are so engaged in some activity that takes all of our focus and attention that we willingly fast.
You know, And you talked about this stage of coming from the love angle, but there's also the other stage which you mentioned before, and Ananda Murthy's just touched on this, and I want to ask that part, and that is that we'll go here, hey, we've got this problem, okay, do this fast, you'll be sorted. Okay, so like confessions, we'll go confessions, in the those that are from the Catholic background, we've got confessions, and then you go there, you see the priest, and they'll say, that's it, okay, tell me what the issue is, okay, you're blessed, you carry on. It's like your sins have now reduced and you can carry on. But the question I've got here, what Ananda Murthy is saying, but how do we stop repeating the same sins? It's like, yes, Ekadashi is good. We're and I'm talking about not even coming from the love angle. I'm talking about just coming from the angle of, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this to forget my sins, and then I can hopefully practice better. So he's saying, but how do we stop repeating the same sins? We keep doing, then purifying, then doing again, then purifying. So what's your
Srila
thoughts?
Prabhupada gives us such an apt answer in the Nectar of Devotion, and he talks about devotional service in itself. Not only does it clear away the sins, but it clears away the impetus for committing the sin. So 12-step programs with addiction, the goal is not just to get you to stop smoking or stop engaging in whatever intoxicant is causing the addiction. You have to cure the root cause of the addiction so that you no longer have the desire to run towards the addiction. So what does that all have to do with, though? That has to do with controlling our senses, which is what fasting is all about. We are now controlling our senses. We are kind of wrangling in all our senses and saying, okay, I willingly now put a cap on this sense enjoyment, because we could eat and eat and eat and eat, and it's no longer about God at all. Even if it is, if we're offering it, it becomes more about, this is what my tongue wants, this is what my belly wants, this is what I want. So we have to shift ourselves out of the center. And even if we find that we have trouble shifting ourselves out of the center, how can we turn our perspective so that, okay, even if it's what I want, how do I come to the place where my want is the desire to please my divine friend? Which is why I come from a place of wanting to see the love so much, because I'm a person who's obsessed with finding the love and the romance in all areas of life. That is something that I really look for. It drives me. So when I can find, oh wait, but there's love there, there's romance there, then my mind perks up. Then I find a more reason to follow all of these different activities.
We were talking before as well. What's really nice today is that we're just being candid and open. We're trying to this is your chance just to ask however you feel. And by the way, if you don't want me to ask the questions, you can, and somehow you can send it anonymously. I'm just trying to think how we can do that. Yeah, send it as a the question mark in you got in our lovely Instagram. And by the way, thanks Janavi Harrison has also joined us today. Very kind of you. and also altogether, I think we had about just under 200 people from the different platforms joining. So thanks to everybody. Hey, I even had one person on one of my channels, the YouTube. So thanks to that guy. I'm just joking. It's so nice. So I just want to just say thank you everybody for joining, and we want you to ask really anything you want. So I've got one lovely question coming up, and this is from Susanna D. Olivera Sakar. Please forgive me if I'm not getting your Spanish or etc. right, but what are your thoughts about fasting for children?
As a person who has a child, as a person who has been a child, I say, why not? It's possible. It depends on what the parent can handle. Of course, we have to use our practicality. We have to be honest with ourselves about what we can do. But
Mm.
if you start young, then it doesn't become a situation where later on you're switching up the child's whole schedule. For me, it was much easier to integrate fasting as soon as possible than to make it something new. And now Nandi, who is 9, she's observed
Oh,
Ekadashi for her whole life.
wow.
So it was easier for me to just make it a part of the routine. And then she knows what to expect. She knows Ekadashi is coming. And I would tell her different stories about why we fast on Ekadashi, about the benefits you get, about how Krishna is just happy. Krishna, our friend, is happy just if for this one day we do this.
Mm.
And we were able to find different things that she would like to eat on Ekadashi. And she decided throughout the years to even up her own austerity level. There's some days where she said, no, but I want to do this for Krishna. There was a Nirjala Ekadashi fast where some of us don't eat at all. And she said, I just want to eat once. And I'm looking
Yeah,
saying, well, I want to make sure you don't get sick. So I'm monitoring her very carefully.
that's
But
it.
she decided that she wanted to take on more just from her own heart. So of course we monitor them very closely. You want to make sure your kids don't get sick. But as a kid who fasted on Ekadashi, it's possible. It is
That-
extremely possible.
and
You
this is
see,
yeah.
kids will do it naturally sometimes. It's hard to get them to sit down and eat. So
Tell me about it. You know, mine's a 2.5-year-old, and um, I completely resonate with your points. And actually, there's a caveat here as well. And like you were just hearing there, and something Julia Wilson picked up. She says fasting from. Hang on, no, wrong one. Yeah, Julia, you said another one before. Fasting would depend on health and disabilities, such as whether one has, for example, IBS or takes medication. So please, there's one thing to remember here. Now, this is an example I want to give for everyone. I remember the time when everybody that's in the spiritual movement, if you know a place called Vrindavan, you'll go to a place called Govardhan. Govardhan is this lovely hill. And actually, when I say a hill, it's massive. And I'm not talking about height, I'm talking about circumference. Because I was like, yeah, we'll walk around Govardhan. It doesn't look too big. And it was something like 22 to 27 kilometers, depending on which way you take. And if you take the way that's the longest, which everybody seems to, it's quite a long way. So I recall that there was myself and I had a friend. My friend had a big disability with one of his legs and had back problems. And and they say that you should try to your best ability. This is the point here, that if you can do barefooted, do it. But if you cannot, it's okay. So of course, my friend, he tried, and it was difficult, and so he would wear socks maybe or etc. to get a bit of comfort. But that does not mean that his efforts were any more, any less than what I did. It actually meant that he tried to his best of his ability. So this is a caveat I want to bring in here, that when we are doing any times things like fasting, etc., we should try to see, actually, are we doing to our best ability, not taking the easy way out. So it's like, oh, you know what, today I think I'll just I'll eat once, I'll do that as a fasting. Let's do our best. Like, for example, just here, if you've got a disability or something, then don't feel bad about it. Actually, the divine will compensate for that. Remember, one step we take
yeah,
to the divine, he'll take 10 steps.
Ekadashi is all about the compensation. It's all
That's it.
about, this is the cheat day. He has changed the rules of the universe just to cleanse you of your sins. And he doesn't say, oh, just, don't do anything, don't eat anything. He gives, okay, if you just do this, if you just do this, if you just do this. So if we are fasting, and usually the regulation is to fast from grains and beans. So usually everyone can find some way within that regulation to be able to maintain themselves. So if you eat more than once a day, that's fine. You do what you need to do, be practical. But let that mindset
That's
permeate
it.
your day, that I am doing this for the pleasure of my friend. I am doing this because my friend is going to come through for me. Even if you think I'm just doing this to cleanse my sins, ultimately it's because my best friend he's gonna change everything. This is a miracle day.
Fantastic.
And I'm gonna watch the miracles happen.
That's
yeah.
it.
Not only does it cleanse the sins, but it gives you benefits.
And there you go. So it doesn't just cleanse your sins, it gives you benefits. And I love the thing what you use, cheat day. Hey guys, it's our cheat day. It's a spiritual cheat day. Hey, hashtag coming on. Hashtag spiritual cheat day. Check that out. Let's get that started as well. So I've just had a lovely comment. And this is from Chaya Patel, who I believe is Chudamani Dasi. And she says, Hare Krishna, for me, Ekadashi is not fasting. All you avoid is grains and seeds. There are so many Ekadashi fruits and roots like cassava, sweet potatoes, suran, chestnuts, different nuts, Ekadashi samo, etc. My favorite is plantain soup and crisps and chips. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much for sharing. So you can hear it. It's like there's so many different things we can have. So it doesn't, like Acyuta Gopi at the start said, it doesn't have to feel like a fasting day. It's a feasting day. It's our mentality that we got to get right as well, that we're doing this in some type of austere form, because the more austerity we do, the more we become this thing where we're changing from being more selfish to selfless. Because when there's something not in it for us, that's when we will able to actually what they call as proper service. And that's the reason why we do service as well. On these days, that's why people will give to charity, will do different things like that. So think about this. I know some areas or parts of the world do 1 month where they fast and they give to charity, and that's really good as well. We do it every 2 weeks. So everybody has their own way of doing it. The main thing is, let's do austerity and actually give selflessly. So that's the point that I just wanted to just check on that. That was really nice on that point.
And I love that it fell on a day like today, because
Yeah.
we often think, like you said, the Catholics have a confessional. You can go and confess your sins. And I feel like this is your confessional day. We'll be here with you. We'll talk you through it. I don't know if I have any power to absolve you, but Ekadashi Devi does. So she says it's the day. She'll absolve you. We'll talk it out. And that's what I love about this day. It gives you an excuse to gather together with the people close to you, have that great association, talk about Krishna, eat together, and in that way you wind up focusing your mind and making spiritual progress in a way that doesn't even feel like you've had to make a huge endeavor.
Yes.
If you want to make a feast, do it, and make it with your friends. Invite them over, have a good time, everybody come together and talk about Krishna and just overcome your obstacles together.
Oh, talking of that, when we're doing feasting, one thing I love, and Prem Mahara is going to say, Jagannath, I can't believe you just said potatoes, but I will have to say Gauranga potatoes. Give a heart. If anybody has heard of Gauranga potatoes, and if you love Gauranga potatoes, I want to see some hearts now. Let's see this interaction.
I'm going to make them later. Like as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to make them. And I put cheese on mine.
I'm coming round. I'm coming round. That's it.
I bake them with cheese on top.
Wow. There we go. Mr. Yogi. There, he's being Yogi, loves them as well. So
yeah, he's had mine, by the way.
He's been sister, what is this now? This is just like just rubbing it in, Definitely now. Mayuri K, Inner Spark. Actually, Inner Spark had a question which I just want to bring up. So apologies, Inner Spark, and thank you for all the questions coming in. I'll do my best to get as many to. Okay, I'm trying to get it. Okay, this is quite interesting. Taking on another tangent, but it's related. Does the Lord fast for his devotees?
Well, since you asked that question, Sri Ram himself followed Ekadashi.
There we go.
Can I tell you the story?
Please do. Everyone want to hear it? I should have said put a heart. But yes, I want to see a yes in the comments box if you want to hear this lovely story about Sri Ram actually fasting. Come on, let's do it.
now, because see, now we have to wait. Now I have to wait for the response.
Yeah, let's see. Yes. Okay, Krishna Priya
Okay,
said yes.
So
Rohan said
so
yes.
just
Being yogi.
before building the bridge to Lanka, Sri Ram arrives on the southern seashore. And everyone is wondering, okay, what do we do now that we know where Sita is? How do we get across? How do we attain victory? What do we do? And so Sri Ram sits in meditation for some days, and then Lakshman comes. Who, in this case, Lakshman is the younger brother.
Yeah.
But also, from our bhakti perspective, Lakshman is the expansion of Sri Balaram, whose birthday is coming up soon.
Way.
And we understand that all of the expansions of Lord Balaram are none other than Sri Guru. So the expansion of our spiritual teachers. So Lakshman has within him the potency of the best of all spiritual teachers. And so he tells Sri Ram, he says, there's a sage that lives nearby. We should ask him what to do. And the sage tells Sri Ram and Lakshman that there is a certain fasting day coming up, known as Vijay Ekadashi. So Sri Ram, if you fast on this day, you will not only be able to build a bridge across the sea to Lanka, but you will be able to defeat Ravan and get your wife back and fulfill all of your goals. So this Ekadashi is known as Vijaya Ekadashi because it grants the ultimate victory. So Sri Ram waited and he fasted on this Ekadashi day, known as Vijaya Ekadashi.
Amazing.
And thereafter, he speaks to Varuna, the god of the seas, the Lanka, and save Mother Sita. So this is the power of Ekadashi. So
inspired by it. And I have to read this out. Premahara said, in the spiritual world, can I become Acyuta Gopi's daughter so she can tell me the Leela stories every day?
Well, see, luckily,
honestly, she's so great.
Because of these live streams, I get to tell stories every day.
That's it. So I'm so grateful for it. And this is the Inner Spark said, thank you for taking the question and the beautiful answer. You're welcome, Inner Spark. Really great that you're asking. And this is what it's about. Let's bring these questions on. So here we just answered that actually you can see that. And if you actually go to South India, because this is where we're talking about, between Sri Lanka and South India, they're actually, from the satellite, they can see like a little line going from India mainland to Sri Lanka. So this is all now backed up with facts as well. This is not even just a pastime. This is, when we say pastime, this is a factual pastime that happened. So please check it out. You can go on Google, you can check it out on YouTube. Have a look. The bridge between India and Sri Lanka that you can see. It's absolutely amazing. So and why are we talking about this? Because this is actually how we can build up our power of prayer. These are the facets that we to help us to build up. So can I just ask just building onto that, we talk about, and this is, I'm going to take it a bit more deeper if it's okay. And the question I want to ask is that sometimes our intentions for doing this fasting is coming from the point, okay, this is going to help me somehow, make me come closer. How do we get that intention in our minds to help this fasting become more selfless? And the reason I'm saying this, for those that are joining, we know that there's benefits in fasting. We've said about it. But our mindsets, if we think about those benefits, like for example, if you dedicate your fasting to, say, a certain person, that might be, they will get the benefits, but you also will get the benefits, even, which is amazing. But so some people say, okay, I'm going to do this fasting, but I want to help my granddad, and I'm going to give the benefits to him, inside knowing that they'll get the benefits back anyway. So how can we do in a mood that actually we're doing it in a more of a selfless way, to really achieve that type of right mindset. So can you give us some tips when we're doing Ekadashi? Because now we're telling everyone the benefits. They're going, okay, let's do it. But there's a very esoteric way. It's a very, very deep understanding. And I want to just get that mindset correct. Is that all right, Acyuta Gopi? If you can share some tips of how we can get that mindset correct.
And, Jagannath, it's just like you said. Sometimes it starts with saying, okay, you know what? This benefit that I'm getting, I want to help my family member. I want to help even a co-worker. In the story of this particular Kadashi, everyone came together to help the king. The king wanted a son. And because the king had no son, he was upset and he was depressed. And then they all follow this Ekadashi and they give the benefit to the king so that the king can have a son. So what I love first and foremost is, even if you don't have the right mindset, Ekadashi still works. So how merciful is that? There's so many things. It's
That's
like,
amazing.
oh, well, you got to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. No, it's like the potency is like fire. Even if you don't realize what fire is, it still burns. So even if you don't realize the full mercy of Ekadashi, the benefits still work. The potency is still there. It still takes over your life in a miraculous way. But in regards to getting our mindsets right, it does start with being honest. It starts with saying, you know what? I want to think less about myself. Because until we acknowledge that, right? That's the first step of addiction, is acknowledging that you have a problem. Not hiding behind, everything is fine, I can handle this. There's no reason for me to do these fasts. My life is fine, everything is good. When we start getting honest with ourselves and really saying, wait, you know what? I want to become more selfless. I want to make this less about me, because that existence has not been great for me.
Yeah.
That is the first step in turning our face toward the mercy and grace and the abundant compassion of the divine. And that is the first step toward unlocking that door so that that mercy and grace can flow in unobstructed.
Amazing. That's the mood that we need to have. And I think one thing that's really important, like you said, it's understanding, being honest with ourselves as well, having that honesty. And sincerity is actually one of the, I would say, pillars we need in spirituality. We need to have sincerity in whatever we do. And if we have that sense, because the divine will understand where we're coming from. If we're not sincere, we might be able to dupe everybody else, but we cannot dupe the divine. And this is the part that we need to come, is that this honesty is really important, because the more sincere we are, the more actually, like I was mentioning before, oh my God, I cannot walk properly. I'll try my best. And you know what? Like you said about compensation, the Lord will compensate. This is, I really, really like that point. I've had this question from Krishna Priya. She says, is it selfish or for doing Ekadashi for someone else, but wanting the benefits for yourself too? Is that like a since we brought that up, I've had that question come.
I think it's natural. It's natural. Sri Ram went to the sage and said, how can I become victorious? It's natural. So, I mean, the king said, I want a son. And the citizens wanted their king to have a son so that they could also be happy. It wasn't just, oh, our king needs a son and that's it. No, he was such a good ruler. Did we lose?
Okay.
Did we lose it?
I can hear you.
Instagram?
I can still hear you. So I'm just gonna get to, you're back. Yeah. You're back. Yeah. We could hear you on. I was checking, so that was good.
Okay. Yeah.
So
so the citizens They wanted the king to have a son because he was such a good king, and they wanted their entire kingdom to be in good hands. This lineage, they wanted it to continue. They knew if he has a son, he'll be able to teach the son good values, and then we'll also be happy. So this wasn't, it what, you know, the effects trickle down. So we're going to understand that there is some personal motive in all of it, right? And we want to make Krishna happy because that also makes us happy.
Well,
he reciprocates with us.
Spot on. I'm just looking
here. So
here.
We get to that level of completely selfish, selfless, pure devotion, because I'm not a pure devotee. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am not.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
So until we get to that point, we understand that, yes, we're going to want some of these benefits. And Krishna is happy to give them. He's happy to reciprocate with us. He's so happy that we've taken that one step closer, that he gives and gives and gives with open arms.
You know, and that's what we talk about when we talk about the divine being loving. It's not a fearing aspect. When we do something, we do it out of love, not because of fear. And when we hit it from that angle, think how much it's like when we're doing it out naturally, because I hear this all the time, you know, I better do this because if I don't do this, this will happen, or I won't able to do this. It's like, no, do it out of love because you want to do it. And this is the reason we say that it's so important that we try to love the divine. And I thank you for sharing that. That was really nice. I wanted to move it on to some other personalities because recently I was looking into the life of a very, very amazing personality called Dhruva Maharaj. And it was amazing to hear that when we talk about power of prayer, especially, I'm just going to make sure you can hear me okay, Acyuta Gopi, before we move forward.
I think we're still good.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I wouldn't turn that because that's your back. You're back.
I'm not sure if it's my connection or what, but it's only Instagram that's having the problem.
Yeah, I think it's Instagram people. No, I'm joking. But we can hear you okay now, so it's all good. So can I ask the question? I just want to just say that, like, you know, he was a personality whose prayers are described in the Vedic scriptures in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where he prayed to the divine in a spirit of revenge against his parents at the start, isn't it? And he requested the most opulent kingdom. So he's now doing this thing where he's asking for things, but in this mode of more of a, well, I want this, so I'm going to do this. And like we were talking about before. And the nicest thing was that after he performed all these severe austerities, he was granted an audience with the divine. And when he came with the divine in front of him, so now he's like, you know, I'm doing this because I want to get that audience with the divine. Now the divine's in front of him. What does he say? Now that because the divine said, what boon can I give you? He said, now that I've seen you, my dear Lord, I'm fully satisfied. And I was just like, and he says, I do not want anything else. And after I heard that, I was like, so he did it with his selfish tendency. He got the divine and he asked him, and the divine's presence was so sublime that he forgot about all that. And it made him think, isn't that
just on... And not only that, the prayers of this boy are some of my favorite, because he says, I treated this like a business transaction. I was like a merchant saying, okay, I'll do something for you if you give me what I want. Yeah. And then he said, I was looking for pieces of broken glass, and you have given me the most priceless jewel. But he says, I don't want anything. I don't want it anymore. I've seen you. I don't need it anymore. But does the Lord say, okay, great, I'll go back home now? No. He says, I'll still give it to you. I'll still give you the biggest kingdom that anyone has ever had or will ever have in the future. In fact, you'll have your own planet.
Amazing.
So even if we think that
Amazing.
we are going to do some service, even if we've had some idea of something that we want, and then we see, we look at Krishna devotees, and Krishna happens to take things away, right? You look at
Yes.
Shiva bhaktas. You look at
Yeah.
Durga bhaktas. And they seem like they get everything, right? They're giving, giving, giving. And then you look at Krishna devotees, and it looks like his name is Hari. He's like taking things away all the time. Like, how does this happen? But the secret is, it looks as though he takes things away, but he gives you what you need.
That's
and when
the
he
point.
gives you what you need, it's always better than what you thought you wanted. So it looked as though Dhruva says, I don't want anything. He wanted a kingdom. He gets a whole planet. You even look at Bali Maharaj. Bali was a king.
Yeah.
He was the king of the demons. And through the mischievous nature of Krishna, he gets tricked out of everything he owns. He gives it away in charity to Krishna, to Lord Vishnu, who comes and he says, oh, let me have 3 paces of land. And Bali says, okay. And then the Lord grows huge and he takes everything in 2 steps.
Wow.
And so Srila Prabhupada says, it looks as though Bali will have lost everything. But
yes.
when he gives himself, he says,
His head.
The Lord says, where can I put my 3rd step?
Yeah.
And Bali gives himself. And then what does Bali get in return? He gets a whole planet.
Yes.
And then the Lord says, not only will I give you a planet, I will personally live there with you. You can see me constantly.
Yeah. That is one of my favorites from the Srimad Bhagavatam you're talking about. I remember there was a course that we were doing on Srimad Bhagavatam by Sutapa Prabhu from School of Bhakti, and he's got little acronyms for each sections. And on this pastime is called the Dwarf Incarnation, because he becomes so big, he's small, it's just amazing to hear. These and this is the beauty about the power of prayer, that here this person looks like he's lost everything, and he's come to the point of submission. And where can I put my 3rd foot? Put it on my head. And that was the mood that the divine was looking for, where he then gave him everything. That's so powerful. I think that's why I find it so touching.
It's so incredibly powerful, because if you are in a situation in your life right now where it looks as though you have lost everything and you are waiting for your miracle, and you say, but Krishna, I'm your devotee. I've prayed to you. I've been praying for years. Why has this happened to me? Everything is gone. Family members have died. I've lost a job. I've lost my house. I've lost a family. There's no food, no money. Whatever this situation is, if you're thinking, I'm praying. Why? Where is my miracle? The moral of all of these stories is, wait, hold the faith. He's not done yet. He's not finished yet. If it looks as though you've lost everything, the moral of the story is, submit yourself. Go before him, even with tears in your eyes, it doesn't matter, because he's not done yet. The miracle is coming.
That's it. There's that saying, the something to do, and it's where the present, actually the word present, if it hasn't come into your life yet, then it's not meant to be. But you've got to have patience. This is what the divine is teaching us as well, that patience is needed. Just hold in there and keep it together, and I'm sure it will happen. long as what we're requesting is in the right mood. I just want to say, so if you say you want a Ferrari F40, I think maybe we'll see. Don't know.
But
The
you know
present is a
what?
gift. Thank you. That's why it's called a present.
It
Thanks for
is.
being Yogi.
And if even if you want that Ferrari, the tricky thing about Krishna is that he starts to change your desires. The more
Yeah,
you talk to him, the more you express your heart, you start to realize, whoa, I was praying for this Ferrari, and now all of a sudden there's something happening here. I'm getting a relationship that I never even thought possible.
exactly. It's like that scenario we had in the Mahabharata, which of course is when we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita, what started the whole thing, where we had Duryodhan, and we had where he was asked, do you want me or do you want my army? So Krishna's asking, do you want me or do you want my army? And he said, well, I want your army. That was the biggest mistake, even though that army was the biggest army. So forget about the size what China's got army or anywhere else in this whole planet. This army I'm talking about, billions. And he said, I want that. I can defeat that way. And what did Arjuna say? Oh, so, it was yeah. And then he said, I just want you. I just want to have you, Krishna. And of course, he won that battle.
That was a situation, Duryodhana is thinking, Arjuna, you're a fool. Krishna's not even going to have weapons. What's he going to do?
Exactly. I find that, so it's just so nice when you talked about that. It just made so much sense. So thank you for that. And Ami Anand said the miracle is coming. I just want to also, bring on that inner spark said, just on what we're talking about. If Krishna gives us what we want materially, we would not want to leave this material world, which is known as, in a way, Dukhalayam. It's like known as a jail. I know it might sound really harsh to some people out there, but remember, this is the time of quarrel and hypocrisy. Our mood needs to be that we utilize this place in a way that we help ourselves to elevate our consciousness so we can transcend, not keep coming back and back and back, right?
And so that's the thing, like you said, Durga actually means prison.
That's it, Durga Dham, yeah.
But this place is a prison with no bars. And this place is a prison where the door isn't even really locked. It's us. It's our mindset. We keep ourselves engaged in this prison. Oh, I've got so many important things. Let me stay with my important things.
I was thinking that. So, like, on this aspect, like, just bring it on to now our intention, our mind. There's this part that when we're talking about prayer and we listen to hear about different personalities and their power of prayer and what they were doing, like, and how their mood was, like the Dwarf Incarnation said, not the Dwarf Incarnation, that story of the Dwarf Incarnation, where he Bali Maharaj put his head down and just said, just step on my head. And then he got everything given. So this aspect that prayer must come from the heart. This is so important. Here, these people are talking from sincerity. And this brings me on to another point, that sometimes we get too much engulfed into the technicalities, that we forget sometimes the actual reason why we're trying to do this. It should come from the heart. And like, for example, it's really good that we memorize verses and that we pray, we do prayers with this. But actually the actual essence here is that when we are doing it from the heart, that is more important than anything else. This is really important. I think I wanted to bring this up because sometimes we have this tendency that, hey, that person did Ekadashi, but I'm sure I saw that seeded fruit that they eaten. We're not allowed to have seeds. We can't have this. We shouldn't have this. Yes, you are technically correct. But at the same time, what we need to do is encourage one another and see the heart of each other and what they were trying to do. Because if we start to see the heart, then we were really able to, you know, serve in a nice way. I just want to bring that up because I've been seeing that happen quite a bit, that it's when it comes to our own ways of when we're doing spiritual life, try to work on ourselves, come from a sincere point, like what you're talking about, honesty, Acyuta Gopi, what's really important. And secondly, what we should try and do is actually, when we do see out there, and this is like a spiritual life hack I want to give, if we do see somebody doing something wrong, listen, think to yourself, okay, that's something for me that as I go forward, I should try and make sure I try not to do that, you know. And if you have that relationship with that person, let them know in a nice way that, okay, this is good, but if we could try and do that, always be encouraging. It's very important that we try and do that. Do not look for the negativities, especially when it comes to doing austerity and doing prayers, because this will help our mood, our consciousness.
That's so wonderfully said. Really well put. And in such a sweet way. My sister, who was like, if there are people who I consider my spiritual masters, my spiritual mentors, my sister, my older sister, is one of those people.
Oh.
And she homeschooled her 3 boys, and the youngest of which is now starting college. So she homeschooled them all the way through high school, everything. And one thing that she would always say to the boys, she's like, you have 3 things to do. Just 3 things. Do your work, mind your business, and be quiet. And so I always kind of looked at spiritual life in the same way. I've got 3 things that I have to do. I have to do my work. I have to do my own spiritual practice. I have to mind my business. So, like, if I'm looking at somebody else's fast, I'm like, is that actually my business? Is that my job? It's kind of not. I have to mind my business. And then I have to be quiet. Sometimes
Love it.
Silence is best. You know,
Silence is golden.
We get so caught up in different things. Oh, let me make this comment on this Facebook post. And then we go and we make it. When really, did we have to? We could have just kept scrolling. Like, I told one of my friends, I was like, if I could be like a mind your business acharya, if I could just mind my business, I feel like I would have the key to spiritual life. I want to not criticize. I want to mind my business because I am not Yamaraj. It is not my duty to go around following people saying, oh, look at your karma. Oh, look what you've done. Like,
that's it.
That's not my job.
I've just realized we've got 1 minute left. I can't believe it. God, it's just time goes. We're going to be carrying this on, guys. By the way, join us next Thursday when we're going to be talking about this. But before I go, I just want to let you know, if you like what you're hearing, check out Acyuta Gopi's Prema Mala book. Okay, so just check. It's www.mybook.to/prema. I've got it memorized now. I know this.
You're so good.
So please do check that out. And I just want to say thank you, everybody that joined in today. And happy Ekadashi for those that have done it. And those that are wanting to try, comment us. Contact Acyuta Gopi. You can contact myself. We've got some really amazing guys on. Premaharas on. Being Yogis on. Ananda Murti's on. Janavi Harrison's on. Contact any of us and we'll try and help. And on that, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.